Welcome to the Build with Boundaries podcast. My name is Manaz, and this podcast is for high achieving women looking to grow without sacrificing family and life. Discover what's missing and making you frustrated, and what's most important for you to achieve the success that you truly desire. All this without compromising the most important things in your life: your time, your family, your values, and your aspirations. So let's dive into today's topic. Welcome back to another episode. We're talking today about not having time for yourself. And this is something I'm seeing over and over again, and I just felt drawn to recording an episode on this. I think when we can't find time for ourselves, those moments we actually need time for ourselves the most. And it's very hard to recognise that because we're stuck. And welcome back to another episode. We're talking today about not having time for yourself. And this is something I'm seeing over and over again, and I just felt drawn to recording an episode on this. I think when we can't find time for ourselves, those moments we actually need time for ourselves the most. And it's very hard to recognise that because we're stuck in the situation and the cycles of things just happening on repeat. And I hope that this gives you a moment to think about where this might be happening in your life. Because without that awareness, we just simply cannot do anything about it. And we can't help ourselves. And, we have to make space for ourselves in our own life. But what happens around us, especially with our business and family, it can feel like all these other things that are external are constantly keeping us away from spending any time with ourselves. And it's just not helpful. It's not helpful. It's adding so much pressure and stress that doesn't need to be there. And when things happen on a daily basis, they can really be impactful. In the sense that they're happening all the time, they're happening on repeat. It's like the same things in different shapes and forms. And we have to see and notice that there is this cycle before we even think about what we're going to do with it. And as mums, I think we get caught in this trap very easily and much more. We've got children or, children demanding our attention, things on our list asking to be done. There's always things, the phones, the emails, the social media. There's just an endless volume of items that need some form of our attention. And we can't give everything our attention all the time. And we definitely can't do it all at once either. As mums, we are there to help our kids and our family, and it becomes natural to feel a bit like that serial juggler and problem solver in the house. Whenever anything happens, it's like ask mum or tell mum and it shall be done. And I think it's time to redefine what your day and your life needs to look like for you. So if you're finding things like people calling you, asking for help, and you're right away saying yes, not able to say no, feeling like no doesn't even come part of that, it's very difficult to say that you can't help. Perhaps with your clients, you're like always overrunning in terms of times that you've allocated. And that's another interesting one because, it's that constant overgiving. Like everywhere, every opportunity we have, we're trying to overgive. And all this overgiving does is it drains us. It adds so much pressure and stress to us. And we just sometimes assume that it needs to be there. And there's almost like this, we're in denial sometimes that things can be any, and things can look different to what they are. And until we don't realize that it's just taking one thing at a time and unpacking, like realizing what can be changed, that things can be put together differently. And it reminds me of that, phrase, when we start looking at things differently, then the things that we look at change. And that is the whole point. I think it's very much about our perspective, but when we're caught in the day, it's almost like we're zoomed into the situation and that task at hand, that particular moment in time. But what we really need to do is to zoom all the way out, just even every now and again, and actually look at what we are doing, because it's affecting us more than it's affecting anybody else. And what I've also realised myself is in those moments where you really do feel like you have no time, I think it's even more important to make time for yourself then, because you so need it. And sometimes we don't realise how much we need it and just how beneficial it is to actually have a little bit of space when it feels like we can't make space. So, even starting with just 5 minutes at the end of the day, before you go to bed, having 5 minutes of just silence, peace, meditation, whatever it takes, whatever feels good to you, stretching, yoga, yoga nidra, maybe it's just listening to music. It could be anything, but the power of starting to give ourselves just those moments is incredibly powerful. And if we can just give ourselves 5 minutes in the evening, we start to see things changing. And when things start changing, those 5 minutes will become 10 very easily for you. But when we don't see that we can fit the 5 minutes in, or that there's any point in 5 minutes, we just keep meeting this resistance, and we just keep on seeing the same things, doing the same things, and nothing ever changes. And we know in order for us to see change around us, we usually, as mums, know that we have to start being the ones who show that change. Even when you are caught up and feeling very annoyed and frustrated and angry at situations or at things that are happening, we know that we need to take control of that, and we know we need to serve as role models for our children. And in the same way, I think giving ourselves that time that we would want our children to give themselves if they were in that situation, that's powerful. And we don't want that for our children. If they were feeling stressed and pressured and angry, we would be the first to step in and say, take a moment. However, we find it so difficult to grant ourselves that permission. Given it's our life, it's our time, we need to start valuing ourselves, but particularly time, because when we value our time, then we can value ourselves more, because we can use that time to honour and respect ourselves. And again, whatever that looks like in terms of, what you're needing at one moment might be different to the next. And just understanding that and being okay with it, and being committed to yourself that you can take that pressure off, because when you are in that storm, it is so important to take that pause and have time for yourself, because you are going to serve other people so much better. You're going to be caring for your children in a different way. You're going to show up for yourself like so much better, and you will find, rather than you feeling drained and frustrated, you can really change that around. And it's that spiral of at that initial push to actually turn that spiral the other way around, so you're actually going upwards and not down. That's the power, and that's what we need to do. So anywhere in your life where you're seeing that things are not quite right, or you don't have enough time, or you just feel like you're not able to do anything, then please do feel free to reach out, because it's always, good to get a different perspective. And sometimes we just can't see, in that all that fog, we just can't see what the answers are. So I'll leave you with those thoughts. Have a think about it, and I would just repeat again, the whole boundaries are key in all of this. And when we don't realize that we actually need boundaries, then we don't have any way of creating them, because there's no desire. And when we turn that corner and see what is possible, that we can see others doing things in a different way, and it's absolutely possible. We can start building up that evidence to know that it's absolutely possible for us as well. And yeah, if you haven't already, then do check out my boundary clock, which is a free worksheet. And again, that will give you insights into where you are just now. And again, it's that zooming out, that the worksheet will actually help you to do that work, where you zoom out and actually take stock of where you are, because, we don't do that enough. And it's actually, you don't know what you're going to discover until you actually get those insights. And it's been incredible so far with all the mums who have looked at this worksheet and given me feedback on it. So I would love for you to be another mum who actually gets help and takes that action, not only prints the worksheet, but actually does the work. And let me know, come pop into my DMs on LinkedIn and let me know how you're finding it. So until next time, take care.